There's a chapter on Lost and A Ghost Who Won't Die. There's a chapter on love where the ink's never dry. There are sentences served in a prison I built out of lies. Life, life, life. I think he captures everything, every hill and valley of life. So this year, each of us has a power, one of the 12 powers that is following us in this journey through 2023. Katie Kate's word, our beloved Kate, who just passed away last Monday, her word was will. Will, yeah. The will is the executive faculty, that power, the one that says, I have dominion over my thoughts, words, and actions. The one that makes decisions, that has that inner conviction, that goes out and makes life happen as we want it to unfold, as we want it to unfold. She and I had a lot of conversations about what that meant for her with the journey that she was walking, with a disease that she was working with, let's say, working with. She had kind of felt like will isn't something she possessed, and as we know, rationally, each of us has these 12 powers. Each of us is each of those 12 powers. But she didn't think of herself as someone who had will that was an executive power, someone who makes things happen. And I think one of the conversations we had was that, how does this change me? And I think what she discovered is that she didn't have to change, and we don't have to change in the midst of these powers. What happens is we come to full fruition in those powers, each of us as our unique selves, as our unique selves. As many of you know, Katie was a free spirit. Free spirit. And she found her will, her power of will, in her free spiritness in those last 2 months or so of her life. And she just kind of embodied it in a different way because she kept thinking that will is something that is equated with strong-arming and having to step out and with a different kind of energy than what she usually had. But I saw it starting to show up in her in ways that were quite unique and beautiful and quiet and free and flowing. And so she was definitely feeling the flow of what was happening to her life and directing it in a way that she wanted it to go. And I didn't realize that until after she passed. And I remembered our conversations. I remembered the last day I saw her on February 27. So this power of will is important, and I want us to remember as we walk through this year with our particular power that at some point you're going to use all of those powers to help you with the one who is calling you forth. And this power of will is especially important now that we are doing this walk through Lent and have been called to do a particular discipline or spiritual training, as we talked about, that you've been inspired to do in your solitude and your meditation time through these 40 days of the wilderness that represent Jesus' walk through Lent, the Lenten period, those 40 days when he was in the wilderness and coming to a place where he was ready to step forward into what we call the Passion, where he was crucified and died. And so all of us know, just like with New Year's resolutions, that we start out whole hog. We're driving down the road and we're doing our thing and we are pressing forward and we're on point and we're getting it done, And then at some point we start to trail off and we're not quite as engaged, we're not quite as focused in it. And it's about this time, a couple of weeks in, where that starts to happen. And we get to decide, am I just going to let that wagon tip over and fall? And we're going to be totally off the wagon? Or are we going to use that power of will and make something happen differently to divert from where you see it going into the ditch and say, nope, I'm committed to this, I'm doing it. And bringing in that executive power of yours, of ours. So we're always at decision time, aren't we? We talk about that often, always at decision time. And especially when we have set goals, especially when we're called to something and we start to waver off the path. And it doesn't have to be by a lot. You know, you go down the path and you just kind of go to the edge. Have you ever gone bowling? And in the beginning the ball's going down the middle, then it goes over. Sometimes it rides that line between gutter and the floor. And then at some point it just drops. And then you got a gutter ball. It's that executive power, it's that power of will that can keep it up on that line and bring it back to the middle so it can go all the way down and hit a strike. But we have to decide that's what we want. First of all, we have to recognize that we're going off the path. I went off the path a little bit. And it's not always because we're unfocused or we're just not used to this path. I mean, life happens. Life happened. Katie went into the hospital. I was at the hospital with her. There were calls coming every day. We were keeping on touch. That was causing me to bump up against life for a bit, and I got off course. But what it required me to do, my word is imagination. And so my original inspiration was that I imagine a larger life for me, that I am stepping into an expanded ministry with my peace initiative in a large way, to imagine myself stepping into that expansively. And so what it caused me to do in the last 2 weeks was to shift just a bit, and imagine me ushering Katie through. We didn't know how many days left. Ushering her family through that same time. Ushering myself through that same time. And being able to share that information with all of you. So that we could all walk this time together. So I shifted a little bit. But it was all the same thing. I'm still expanding into my imagination as imagination. And sometimes we have to shift. But the shift doesn't mean that you're off the path. It just means the wind shift. If you're in a sailboat and the wind shift, you have to shift your sails so that you can still go where you want to go, but you can't do the same things you were doing before the wind shifted. And I used to, years ago, when there was a shift, just drop everything. And as humans, we tend to do that because we think, now I got to focus on this new thing, something else is happening. Okay, I'm over here now, when it's just something that's causing you to shift your sails a bit. Shift your sails, keep it in mind, stay open, what is mine to do. So I wasn't inspired to stop everything I was doing before, just shift and expand it again, because now we're going to fold something in to your practice, to my training that I was inspired to do. This sitting every day, morning and night, and envisioning a wider life. I had to sit and envision myself being able to do that and pay attention to how the winds has shifted and the other demands on my life in the last 2 weeks. Because in the beginning I was thinking, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. I can't be here for everybody. I can't be here for everybody. And in that moment I couldn't. And that's why that poem from James Dillett Freeman hit me the way it did. He kept saying, I am there. I am there. I am, I am, I am, I am. And so as the winds were shifting, I was reminding myself that God is here. God is here. God is here. God is here. God's in everything that is happening. I felt that in that hospital room that day I saw her, the last day I saw her. I felt it every single time I had to tell somebody else this is what is happening. And I felt it in my pain, and I felt it in my words, and I felt it in my silence. It enabled me to shift just a bit and keep going. And keep going. Shift your sails, shift your sails. God is in the wind as you're shifting your sails. God is in the sails as you're shifting your sails. God is in the ocean on which the boat is floating. God is the boat. God is in your arms as you're working with those ropes and shifting those sails. God is in you in those moments. God is in all of it. I am in all of it. He says, as he's speaking to Freeman in his pain, there's some uncanny similarities between his story and when he wrote that and in Katie's story. 9 months from diagnosis to transitioning. And in the midst of it, it felt like a long time. And when we think of it, the 9 months went just like that. Just like that. That last week felt like 9 months. Just those 7 days. And so now think about where you are in your journey with your word. Have you gotten a little bit off the path? Or are you still focused and moving forward? Are the wheels of that train still going? Now, trains are slow to get moving, but once they move, they move. And you better not be on the tracks when they're coming by. Because they're hard to stop. That's that momentum. So where are you with your practice? With the training you've been inspired to do? Do you need to go back to day one? Sometimes we miss something in there and we say, okay, then we just give up. And we just lay in that gutter like the ball. Lay in the gutter and we slide down to wherever the ball stops and then we stay there. And we stay there. But we have this executive power to say, you know how the ball goes down and it shoots back up and comes up so the bowler can throw it again. You can decide you're going to do that. Loop the ball around again. It's time for me to go again. It's time for me to go. It's time for me to engage with this power I have to decide I'm going to stay on the path that God is leading me to, that goodness is leading me to. This expansive good that's waiting for me, this expansive me that the world is waiting for, that you are waiting for. Because remember, whatever it is we are called to, it is for us. And it will answer some of your heart's desires, even the ones you forgot or are not consciously aware of. The all-good, the omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent force that is God, that principle that is God, knows all things, knows the desires of your heart, holds the desires of your heart, and leads you towards them in ways that you couldn't imagine. That's why imagination is important. So then when things start not looking like you think they ought to look, because you're looking with limited human eyes or perception, physical eyes or mind perception, that we expand with God's expansive vision and see something differently. Be willing to look at all the possibilities that are coming towards you and to keep saying yes and to keep doing and to keep letting that ball circulate around and grab it again and pitch it one more time down that alley. And don't be afraid when it goes towards the gutter. Just direct it, shift the sails, come back onto the wood and all the way down. And if you drop in the gutter, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't get stuck. Don't give up. Don't quit. As creators, yes, we are creators. We are made in the image and likeness of God. God is the ultimate creator. We are also creators. We get to create again. So when it drops in the gutter, just say, I'm starting again. Let it drop, let it circulate, come back up, do it again, do it again, do it again. As long as you have breath, you get to do it again. You get to do it again. So this power of will, you are the boss of you in your life. So the question always is, if you're not happy with your life, guess who needs to hold that? And guess who gets to change it? You get to say, I ran it in the gutter, and I'm starting over. I wavered a bit, I'm coming back center. I'm coming back center. A bowling ball going straight down that alley towards those pins to hit the center and blast them all out. Coming back center, coming back center. The center of who and what you are, which is ultimate goodness, which is love, which is peace, which is power to do all things. I can do all things in him who strengthens me. I can do all things in him who strengthens me. Not some things, not half of the things, not a quarter of the things, not, oh, I did some things, so I think I'm done with the things. I'm sitting the rest of the things out. I'm at that age where I can just sit, not do anything else. I'm out of things. As long as you're breathing, you got things to do. And you can do all things, all things, all things. So just shift, direct. Shift your sails, stay on course. Shifting happens. Shifting happens every day. Something shifts. Shift with it. What did we say last week? I got something for this. I got something for this. You have a power for that. Whatever it is, it's hurtling down your path. You have something for it. You are the answer to whatever is presented to you. You are that answer. You are the answer. You are the answer. So let's take this into meditation. So here in this time, keep repeating to yourself, I am the answer. Knowing that the first two words in that sentence, I am, is God, the great I am. And every time you say the words I am, you are invoking your divine power. You are claiming your divine power. You're claiming it. You are it. You get to decide what's next. And with divine principle, with divine intelligence, with divine wisdom, we can step forward into love, into peace, harmony, unity, abundance, clarity. We can walk through challenges and not suffer. We can have our tears but still feel strong. We can feel our oneness with the divine, with the God that created us and lives as and through us. And know that nothing is impossible. All things are possible. All things are possible. All things are possible. I am the answer. Is the assurance from the divine that all things are working for our good. You have only to claim it, to see it, to feel it, to embrace it, to call it forward. And if you stumble, and if you feel in need, remember, God is there. God is there in and through all things. God is there. In every cell of your being, in every cell of your being, God is there. The life force that makes these magnificent bodies of ours work. In our thoughts, our feelings, God is there. In our troubles, in our tribulations, God is there. In our pain, in our sorrow, in our joys and celebrations, God is there. I am there, says the Lord. So let's take a deep breath together. Exhale. Inhale again. God is there in every breath. Exhale. God is there in every exhale. Breathe in again. One breath, one life, one family, one community. Exhale. God is in and through this community. Your brothers and sisters. In every sentient being, in all things, all beings. And so we say yes and thank you to that life. We say yes and thank you to having the answer to the presence of the divine in and through all things. We say yes and thank you. And we call it good. And we call it done. And so it is, and so it shall be.